Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tropic Trade Group, and today is Thursday, August 25th, and this is your end of day recap. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer over here. All right. So to start off with today, definitely a couple big themes of the day. One of which I would say was a big move in bonds for today, up 1.4%. If we want to start with them, because I've been kind of starting these videos with talking about bonds quite a bit, but we did see a reversal off of the Virgin point of control. This is something that I thought could take place. I wasn't 100% sure. I'm never 100% sure because we had this lower one that was kind of hanging out over here. So I thought this morning, like, hey, if this gets taken out, this 135.15 level, we could really see a pretty nice reversal off of that. We didn't go that far, right? So we had a nice reversal. We're kind of, getting out of this this channel on the 1 hour chart, and we've got some more levels to watch here in the bonds, which would be 137.22. After again the Virgin, it's amazing, the Virgin point of control takeout and nice reversal. So we'll see. 130. Interesting that the price action did stop right around the bottom of value, and obviously we've got some big data that's coming out tomorrow, as well as a big speech. I will get back to that in a minute. But so again, why do I dwell so much on bonds? Why do I talk so much about bonds and what the importance is? Well, because something like this kind of really helps the move, particularly in growth stocks. Growth stocks had a big day today. Let's go back to my spreadsheet over here. But you had the Qs up 1.8% today. You had small caps, so that led. You had small caps also up 1.5%. But yes, I do believe that's part of. It's not always, it's not, nothing is 100%, and nothing, there's usually not one thing that explains things, but it's a factor, and I think it's a pretty big factor when you see bonds have a day like this. It's going to provide a pretty decent relief bounce to some of the higher growth areas of the market. Chinese internet names were up huge today. They had their own story going on. The K-Web, which is was a pretty beaten up area, was up over 7% on the announcement of stimulus overnight in China. That's when S&P futures really got going last night, right around 2 o'clock. If you're watching like the 5-minute bar and the overnight session, they really got going at that time once China made that announcement last night. Also, pot stocks, again, like I talked about it. I believe it was in yesterday's video. I don't have a reason for why these things are going like this. A lot of the times it's short covering, but it could be something else. Maybe this group is kind of bottoming a little bit. I dare say that because I think that's kind of complicated. But you can kind of see this is the first, as I talked about yesterday, first candle outside of the value area, and again, you can kind of see that maybe you've got kind of a stage one complete at this point in the pot stocks. They certainly have gone down enough, but again, it's just not my favorite group. It's probably something that I won't be trading. But this group, this ETF, topped out at 50. And it is what it is. They're down. It's down to $12. So things do bounce. This is deep in a downtrend, but not to say that this can't rally at this point, given where the current level of going from $55 to $10. So that's a story there. And then really what I found most interesting today was the strength in the semiconductors. They were up huge today. I like it. I really like when the market when there's some strength in that group, right? To me, it just seems a little bit more risk on when you've got the semiconductors moving, on the back of, I guess, the NVIDIA results may not have been as bad as people thought, or just the fact that people really want to be in this company and they're taking advantage of the dip. There's a lot of different reasons. Someone posed this question to me and to some others yesterday on Twitter, and it's a complicated name, right? NVIDIA does a lot of really good things, but they're having a lot of issues with some of their business segments. So perhaps people are looking to the future and not looking in the rearview mirror and saying, geez, wow, they really got current problems right now. But maybe people are looking more at the road ahead and saying, hey, I'm taking this opportunity to get into a stock with good management and that has a lot of really good business segments. That's my take on it. But I loved what happened in this group. A couple names. I'm trying to think of the one name that went ballistic today. Just give me a second and I will find it. But of course, I've got some other names to talk about too. So the name that I was thinking of is ACLS, right? This is a newer semi name. Look at the volume in this thing today. A member brought this to my attention yesterday as he took this trade in the Tribeca Trade Group room yesterday. I didn't take this trade, even though I thought it was a really good setup because I had enough exposure in the semiconductor group. And specifically, I would, GFS, which also had a monster day, up 7%. And notice the similarities. Now, again, the chart's not exactly the same, but you kind of have this little bit of digestion here into the 20-day moving average, and then bam. So very impressive. I think a lot of growth investors were all over this name today, but 72 to 82, and you can make the case for possibly a cup and handle type pattern too. But I mean, that is huge volume. So, even if you missed this today, like I did, because I didn't trade this thing today, it could be the start of a move, right? And I think that's how you kind of have to look at many names at this point is, stay focused on the road on the road ahead, not what you missed or what didn't happen. Stay focused on the road ahead. So this was really nice. I also traded this PLAB, which is a name that I've been, again, same type of pattern, right? A little bit of a strength over here, back on 812, and digestion down into the 20-day moving average. I had an alert go off on this one early, caught it, and got the majority of the move today. So pretty nice. Here's my trade. So what did I do today? Yeah, PLAB, this was 10 minutes after the open. And then, of course, I was already in GFS. Someone had actually asked me about GFS yesterday, and I said, wow, this actually looks pretty good for an ad yesterday. So that worked very well. But you could see, if we look at the whole semiconductor group, right, and the movers today, and Semiconductor, which also has been showing some really nice relative strength, right? Since this thing broke out, this was also back on the same day when all the semiconductors were running that day. But 812, the stock got to new highs, and since then it's been acting very well in a tough tape. Right. Notice this one has actually done a little bit better than a couple of the ones that I mentioned in terms of, the markets, again, what you could do, right? You don't have to use a relative strength chart, but just if you look at, for example, the Qs, right? Look at what the Qs have been doing. Look at what ON Semiconductor has been doing, right? So again, there's a lot of different segments. I know some people, speaking of relative strength, they like to take a group and overlay it with S&P performance, right? To look at, what the overall relationship is. However, the semiconductor group, there's a lot of things going on. You have memory chips going on. You've got gaming chips. You've got Internet of Things chips. And some of these are in a boom. Other ones, like the memory chips names, are not doing very well. So, you have to be cautious again, to me, right? When you're looking at somebody putting out, talking about, well, this group is not looking very good versus the S&P, it's exhibiting relative weakness, right? Well, is it a couple names? Is the group very homogeneous or heterogeneous, right? I think I'm using that correct. I hope I'm using that correctly, but meaning, like, are there a lot of very similar companies that make the same type of things, or is it very different, right? Another group that I think that way too about is retail, right? Retail, you've got anything and everything going on in retail. You've got some companies executing very well because they've got a product that's in demand, or clothing, or look at Ulta, for example. Right. This, I guess you could put in the somewhat retail group, consumer discretionary, but their numbers were awesome in Ulta that they reported. But it's going to be much different than a Nordstrom or a Walmart, right? It's just a completely different situation, right? Look at the numbers that they put up. You know, C's guy EPS 20 to 21 versus 18 to 17. Comparable sales, they crushed that as well. So again, this is part of what right now what it's all about in terms of names that are reporting earnings. If a name is executing like this, right, then it may really set up for some good opportunities for the next quarter to come, right? And this, I'm on the wrong chart. I wanted to show 1 hour, right? So I think you're going to be very close to breaking out in Ulta and Beauty, and this could be, you know, this could cause some funds to start to have to buy this name up here after seeing how well they did on their last quarter and what their forward guidance is going to be. We'll see. Let's see if they say anything on their earnings call that says anything different. But again, the retail group is one of those groups where, you know, you could have many different companies struggle and you could have many other companies do well, similar to, I think, what's going on in the semiconductors. All right. And then, you know, a few other names, you know, a name that I think I talked about in yesterday's video, which was Alcoa. This was a trade that we put on. Impressive strength today, up 4.6%. And again, I love it when you can have a semiconductor or you could have whatever growth stock, like Pins was a big name today. And then you can have an Alcoa and a Nucor, right? Which also, look at the move in Nucor, up 4.4%. Again, looking to see how, you know, this is very logical, right? To see, you know, a name come into the 20-day moving average and hold the line, right? And then bounce, rally, you know, after that. So pretty good look. You know, some of these commodity names are still doing very well. You know, we saw some call buying in a couple of, I think in yesterday's video, I went over how hot the lithium names are. The ag names continue to be very hot. We did see a call buyer today, which I took this trade, small trade, just because it took out this VPOC, but I like the overall pattern here. This is LXU or LSB Industries. They do ag and chemical. I like that. Both of those groups right now. So we'll see if this works. I did not take a big position in it. But again, this is it sells chemical products for the mining, agriculture, industrial markets. Some of these things are pretty hot right now. So again, right in the wheelhouse. And I saw option activity in this today. Remember also the one that we talked about yesterday, which saw option activity. Speaking of another oddball retail company, Crocs, up 5.6%. Right, and is now has moved above the 816 highs, but monster day for this name too, right? Go figure, Crocs, right? So again, you know, very interesting when you've got a day like this. Let me just go back to trades. Also, you know, the alternative energy, also CEG made another turn up, right? I talked about in yesterday's video, CLH, right, which was a nice winner. I got another target in this one today, even though it just finished flat for the day. I got a target up at 124. But yes, this one I profiled yesterday. I think I talked about that. Again, I shoot a lot of videos, so I forget if I give this one in the free video yesterday. But you know, again, tight consolidation, even though it's made a big move. Right, I don't think the move is over in this thing, and this thing closed at the highs. So that was a new trade for me yesterday. I did take off a small target. VRRM, which is another name everybody seems to be talking about. Hey, I took this trade because it looks pretty good. It did close above value. It didn't close on the highs, but this is another name that I think is, you know, just a little bit different. This is designs and develops mobility software. Company offers speed, bus lane, railroad crossing, school, bus stop arm enforcement and enforcement ticketing, as well as crash reports and video enabled data analysis. I was talking about this the other day. Doesn't this sound like innovation? Like, why doesn't, you know, the fund that has an innovation you know, ETF have this in it, which I don't believe that they do. Obviously, I'll go to this just to double check this, but like this would be innovative, right? Not a Zoom video to me, but you know, where many companies have different have different video sharing applications. No, this is not in there. But this to me seems like an innovative company, right? So I did take a shot on this one. Easy to have your stop price in here, 1680. All right, so that's it for today. I like this. You have to be careful with your exposures all the time. Like, I never like to put on 3 or 4 names in a particular sector, especially right now. I started a position in PI. It wasn't looking as strong as some of the other ones, so I did take that one off. I also took off ENPH today, which actually closed fine today. So you may see me go back into this name. I took a target today at 299 and then took the rest of the position off, but it actually finished pretty darn strong. So again, a little bit of, it was a little bit of a slow mover on the bounce of the 200, not 200-day moving average, but the 20-day moving average. But it's still making its way back up here. And that's 4 green days in a row. So nice price action there. So I went through so far this whole video without talking about tomorrow's events. Here's the thing in trading, right? No one knows exactly what Powell is going to say tomorrow. Everyone wants to speculate, right? I was on Bloomberg earlier. I talked about what the market is pricing in terms, which I think it is very good that the market is pricing very close to 3/4 of a percentage point increase, potential increase for the September meeting. So it's good. The expectations are there. The market is already pricing that in. So, maybe that leaves, if he backs off a little bit of that, maybe, if he's slightly dovish, the market will probably rally on that, considering that it's already priced in to the market. And again, where do I see this? This is the screen that I show all the time in these videos. But you could see, if you don't believe me, right, this is what Fed fund futures are pricing in, 68 basis points, right? So it's already there in terms, it's only 7 basis points away from 75, because of course they raise interest rates in 25 basis points increments. So we're very close to 75. That's a good thing to see, that the expectations that the market is already there. All right. So, what is he going to say tomorrow? I don't know. What are we going to get in terms of the PCE number for tomorrow? Pce Deflator, which is another big gauge of inflation. I've talked about that all week, right? 0.0 is what they're expecting. What is this number going to come in at? I don't know. I don't think it's particularly comforting that a lot of the commodities have started to come back up. Maybe not crude, but we've seen it in nat gas. We've seen it in a few other of the commodities. So, people, so just to kind of go back to trading, right? Today, I think was very much, you could use the expression, a bird in the hand is worth twice than is what's I'm getting the saying wrong. A bird in the hand is worth twice as 2 in the bush, right? Tomorrow, you have a lot of uncertainty. Why even mess with that for tomorrow, right? So if you like to bet on football, if you like to make wagers, then maybe that's something for you. But if you like to make money, right, then probably betting on what is going to happen tomorrow as like a football bet is probably not the best thing to do, right? So I've kind of learned this over the year. Take what you know, right? We had a huge rally today. Take some of that money and put it in your pocket, right? I took off a lot of exposure because I just don't find that to have a lot of edge. Now, you could get lucky, and I'm not selling anything in my long-term accounts. I also have the TTG trend portfolio. I'm not selling anything there because it's a different account. But in my trading account, right, of course I'm going to be taking some profits, right? It's just a logical thing to, you have to think like a bookmaker, right? Or the house at a casino, right? Take the really uncertain events and don't mess with them, right? There's no edge in that, right? Just like there's not much edge in betting on football, right? Although everyone thinks that they have an edge in doing it, but for the most part, that's a very tough. It's tough to consistently make money betting on football, right? So that's kind of how I view tomorrow, as if you're wagering on it, and of course you could design specific trades, option trades, where you can skew your risk to reward, right, in case you are right. But in terms of putting, betting a lot of money on what the outcome of tomorrow, what Powell's speech is going to do, as well as what this inflation to me is not the smart thing to do. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you find that helpful. As always, to be a member of Tribeca Trade Group. And if you like the analysis that we put out, don't forget, like every day, well, not every day, we do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I send out a note to members talking about the key themes for the day. I also talk about, what I think are actionable charts, right? Yesterday was Crocs, CEG, right? And we talked about bonds and the big TLT trade that somebody was looking for a reversal in bonds, and they got it today. So you can go right here and you can click on the link here to be a member of the Tribeca Trade Group. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night, guys.